Welcome back, Algebra 2 students. This is Chapter 2, Section 4, Write Equations of Lines. All right, let's take a look. The only new vocabulary we have here is the point-slope form. Point-slope form is a way of writing the equation of a line. It looks like this: y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. All right, so basically, you'll be given a slope and an x1 with a y1. So all you'll end up doing is taking the m, plugging the m in, and then the x and the y1 in, and after a bunch of work, you'd end up with y equals your equation in mx plus b form. All right, so that's what this does. This gives us, it's a couple steps in between here, but it gives us the equation the first time. So this is when you use the different equations. Use slope-intercept form. All right, slope-intercept form if you're given m and the y-intercept, or b. Remember, the y-intercept is any point where x is 0. So if x is 0, it's the y-intercept. It may not tell you it's the y-intercept, but if it's a 0, it's the y-intercept, and this is the fastest way of coming up with an equation. And it gives you, use the equation y equals mx plus b. Because we know m, we know b, you have an equation instantly. To tell you what I mean, what that means is if I say, hey, everyone, m is 2, b is 4, write an equation for the line. Well, you would say the equation is y equals mx plus b. That's your equation of a line. No work required. If it tells you that the slope is 4 and a point is 0, -3, well, you know the slope, y equals 4x, and you know the b value is -3. Equation is written. Use the point-slope form given a slope and a point. Now, as long as the point is not the y-intercept. And so we use y equals mx minus x1. Basically, you don't have to write this part down. But basically what that is, this equation comes from the equation m equals y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. Basically, if you multiply by the denominator, what you have is m x2 minus x1 equals y2 minus y1. So this point-slope form is a derivative or a derivation of the slope formula. All right, use 2 points. If you're given a 1 point and a second point, first use the slope formula to find m. Then use the blank form with the given point. Now you're supposed to write in here point slope form because you are given a point and you now know the slope. But remember, if, you should add this in there, if 1 point is y-intercept, then use y equals mx plus b. So only if you're given 0b will you use this form. All right, so let's check it out. Write an equation of the line. So from the graph, you can see that the slope of this is m equals some number. Well, we can't just look at this and see. We need to put a second point on here. Here's a second point. There's 1 point. Second point goes right through the crosshairs. And so the rise over the run. Well, look at this. The rise is down 3. The run is right 2. So my slope is -3/2. use the y, and the y-intercept is b equals, remember, y-intercept, where it crosses the y-axis, is at 0, 1. So the b value is 1. Now you have m, you have b. So substitute negative 3/2 for m and 1 for b. And you have your equation. All right, let's take a look at guided practice 1 and 3. 1 tells us m equals 3, b equals 1. You know the form y. At this point, we're given a slope. We're given the slope and the y-intercept. So we use y equals mx plus b, plug m in there, and put b in there. That's it. Number 3, m equals negative 3/4. B equals 7/2. So we use this formula again. Y equals mx plus b. Y equals the m, negative 3/4, x plus 7/2. That's a totally acceptable equation. So you should try number 2 now of the guided practices. All right, here, write an equation given the slope and the point. So now we're given the slope and this point. So because you know the slope and a point on a line, use point-slope form to write an equation of the line. Let x1, y1 be 2, 1, and let the slope be 2. So all you have to do is plug in the numbers. y1 is 1, m is 2, x1 is 2. Now, use the distributive property. It says distributive property. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. And you still have a minus 1. Now, we need to make this right in slope-intercept form. That means solve for y. So we add 1 to both sides. And you get 2x minus 3. Y equals 2x minus 3 is our equation. All right, remember back from, I think, an earlier chapter, parallel lines are equal distance from one another. They're equal distance. They never cross or never touch. And their slopes are equal. So their slopes are equal. That means these two equations are parallel. Y equals 2x minus 5 and y equals 2x plus 3. The slope of here, slope of 2 means they're parallel. Perpendicular lines, they intersect at right angles. They touch in one spot, and their slopes are opposite reciprocals. So that means if we had the equation y equals 2x minus 5, a perpendicular line would be y equals, well, what is the opposite reciprocal of 2? Well, the opposite is negative, the opposite sign. And then if you took 2 over 1 and you flipped it, it would be 1/2. So the perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. So here we go. Write an equation of a line that passes through negative 1, 1 and is parallel to this line. Right. Parallel equal slope. So the given line has a slope of m1, which is negative 2. A line that is parallel to it must have a slope of m2 equals m1, which equals negative 2. So my final answer way down here will have a negative 2 slope. A line perpendicular to a line with slope of m1, it must be the opposite. Oh, okay, let's do different colors here. So m1 has a slope of negative 2. So perpendicular is opposite reciprocal. So it becomes the opposite of negative 2, which is positive. And the opposite of 2 over 1 is 1 over 2, so it's 1/2. So the answer down here will have a slope of 1/2. And then use the point negative 1, 1 to write an equation in the line. Unfortunately, we cannot use y equals mx plus b because negative 1, 1 is not the y-intercept. All right, so let's plug some stuff in here. y1 is 1. The slope is negative 2. And x1 is negative 1. So previously, once you have this, I'm not sure how they got to this step right there. What you're going to want to do first is distribute the x. So and minus a minus is a plus, so this becomes y minus 1 equals negative 2x minus 2. And then you plus 1 on both sides, and you get the equation y equals negative 2x minus 1. Over here, plug the information in again. There's a 1, a 1/2, minus a minus 1. Well, minus a minus is plus. If you distribute the 1/2, you end up with y minus 1 equals 1/2 x plus 1/2. You add 1 to both sides, y equals 1/2 x plus, you can write this as a bunch of different ways. Let's just go ahead and write it as 1.5. 1 plus 1/2, 1.5. Or you could say 3/2. So this line is perpendicular. The other line is parallel. All right, guided practice number 5. Writing an equation of a line that is parallel to that point and perpendicular. I'm going to go ahead and do, this is number 5. I'm going to do the part B, which is perpendicular. So, looking at the equation, y equals 3x. Y equals 3x minus 1. I know that the slope of this line is 3, which means the perpendicular slope should be the opposite and reciprocal. So now I have m. And now I need to plug in the x1 and the y1 that is given. So the x1 is 4, y1 is negative 2. When you minus a minus, it becomes plus. When you distribute the negative 1/3, it becomes negative 1/3 x plus 4/3. We subtract 2 from both sides. Our equation is negative 1/3 x minus, is it minus 2/3? Let's see here. Because it'd be 4/3 minus 6/3, negative 2/3. Yep. So this is your perpendicular equation. All right, now write an equation if you're just given 2 points. So it said way back at the beginning, if you're given 2 points, find the slope and then use point-slope formula. So y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. My equation becomes negative 4 over negative 1, which becomes 4. My slope is 4. Once you know the slope, pick one of these values. You can use x1 and y1 if you want, but you don't have to. Which point looks nicer? Well, I hope that when you look at this, the fact that there's no negatives in there, that is probably the easiest one. So y minus 1 4x minus 3. Distribute y minus 1 equals 4x minus 12. And then add 1 to both sides. So y equals 4x minus 11. All right, take a look at 6 and 9. All right, quickly we'll do number 6. Number 6 says you're given negative 2, 5, 4, negative 7. First thing we do, we find the slope. So we're going to go ahead and use the slope formula. You can use other ways if you want, but it's negative 7 minus 5 over 4 minus negative 2. So negative 7 minus 5 is negative 12. 4 minus 2 is 4 plus 2 is 6. So my slope is negative 2. Now, neither one of these is super nice. So we'll just go ahead and use the second point, y minus 7 equals negative 2x minus 4. Well, let's distribute the negative 2. Minus a minus becomes a 7. Distribute the negative 2. Subtract 7. And now you have your equation. Like 2 or 3 steps here, you have your own equation. Number 9 is a story problem. Number 9 says, in example 5, the corresponding data from males are 3.42 million participants in 93 and 3.9 million in 2003. So, write a linear equation that models male participants in U.S. high school sports. So, what they did, and this is something that's you may have to do quite a bit, where you aren't necessarily using the data as is, meaning you don't necessarily want to end up using 1993 and 2000 in 2003. So what we want to do is, and this is important here, so we're starting at 1993, and what we're going to do is we're going to say let t equals 0 for 1993. That means 1994 t would be 1 year later. 95 would be 2 years later. 96 would be 3 years later. All the way to 2003, which t would be equal to So what we've got now is we've got some information. We know that in t equals 0 and t equals 10, we know that there are a certain number of percentage numbers. So in 1993, it was 3.42. In 2003, 3.99. Write the linear equation. All right, so if we work this out, y2 let's see here, that's 5.57. So that means our slope is 0.057. All right, so we know m. We know m. Now, at the beginning, way back here, right here, I said if one point is the y-intercept, then use mx plus b form. Because you don't want to go through all the extra work if you don't have to. So looking at this story problem here, we have the y-intercept. We know what the b value is. So all you have to do to write your equation is say that the slope m is 0.057 x plus 3.42. All you have to do. That's why changing this to t equals 0 is much better than using 1993 because you'd end up doing a lot of weird multiplying. All right. So let's write an equation. We're going to do, let's see, let's write an equation. We know 0, 3 is the b value. Here's another point right here. The slope goes up 2 over 3. 2 over 3. We know that the b value is right here. So my equation is y equals 2/3 x minus 3. Now we have to use the point slope form for number 2. So y minus 5, negative 2, x minus 1. Distribute, add 5. So y should be negative 2x plus 7. I already did another perpendicular one, so I'm only going to do parallel. Parallel lines have equal slope. So I should just use 4 as my m. So y minus 3, 4x minus 2. Minus and minus is a plus. I'm going to add 3. My equation is y equals 4x plus 11. All right, now let's do it through 6, 2, through these 2 points. All right, so y2, negative 2 minus 2. 3 minus 6. That gives me negative 4, negative 3, or 4/3. So my slope is 4/3. So y minus 2 equals 4/3 x minus 6. Y minus 2 equals 4/3 x minus, I think it's 8. Add 2 to both sides. -6. All right. Guided practice number 10. So if example 6, suppose the company A charges 0.69 per song and B charges 0.89 per song. Write an equation that models what's going to be exactly the same equation, except instead of 0.79 and 0.99, you're just going to switch it out. So I think you can handle that. So your answer should just be, let's see here. So 0.69 x plus 0.89y equals 30. All right. So I did quite a few of the guided practices for you. You should finish them up. We'll try to do as many of these as we can in class. Good luck.